The U.S. government now appears to have been paying the Walt Disney Company over the past many years millions and millions of dollars through the Department of Defense. It is something that perhaps Disney will need to defend, maybe the government as well. We have some idea of why this is happening, but we'll break it down. We'll show you what's going on as we break an exclusive right here on the Pro Channel. Hello, folks, and welcome back to the channel, I suppose, that knows how to go to places others simply will not. We do it deftly with an expertise like you are unlikely to find in many other locations online. Folks, as we maturely take on the topic of Disney receiving millions of dollars through a subsidiary from the U.S. government, we ask that you click that like button, and we'll handle the topic with the gravitas it deserves. All right, out of that Park Place, the Walt Disney Company was provided USAID funds by the Biden administration to create NatGeo content. We've already covered this. We're not going to go back into it deeply. I just want to remind folks who have not seen it before that yes, indeedly doodly, the Walt Disney Company, we know, received millions of dollars from the Biden administration in 2021, and it was for a show that basically was unwatched. Now, I say basically as a protective mechanism there because, yes, literally people watched it. Metaphorically, figuratively, relatively, no. This was millions of dollars were spent, and Team Sayari, if you have not heard of it, well, you're not alone. But it's a bigger story than, of course, Disney just receiving money. Grums, also known as Mark Kern, that's his official name. He is, in my opinion, he should be on the Mount Rushmore of game developers. He's largely responsible for the games that you love out of Blizzard from the glory days, such as World of Warcraft, where he was the project lead of the original World of Warcraft. He has this to say. He says, USAID has funneled $472 million through Internews Network. Director of Internews Network is the VP of comms at Reddit. Reddit is compromised. What is this talking about? It's talking about apparently a business known as Internews Network that the USAID was funneling vast sums of money, and then Internews Network was paying out that money to the legacy media companies. And so if you've ever wondered why was, what is causing 98% of journalists to be of one political viewpoint, it may have been because the U.S. government was paying to make that so. Now, we don't know completely yet. The details are still fuzzy, foggy, and we're waiting to get all of it. And it's not easy either because the legacy media, of course, is not going to cover this. It's up to independent journalists and people like Grums to put this out there. We're watching it. We're paying attention. USAID turns out to have been essentially a giant slush fund taking your tax dollars, and we're not sure exactly what the percentages of things that it did that were good versus bad. Surely with the kind of money we're talking about, some of this had to actually be going to poor people who were in need of help. Maybe some of this money did finally land in Haiti to help the Haitians. We hate the idea, though, that perhaps large percentages never made it to the people who needed assistance, but instead went to the rich people and to the journalists, the drive-bys, to line their pockets and help them to continue putting out their propaganda. Now, we're interested, of course, in entertainment and entertainment news coverage here. I want to show you how ABC News is covering the USAID situation, and then I'm going to show you something very concerning to us that we have discovered and we are currently investigating. It is in regards to the Walt Disney Company, which, by the way, owns ABC and ABC News. We'll get to it in just a moment. This is an article out of ABC News. It's by Mary Alice Parks. It says, nonprofits, NGOs scramble to provide global aid amid USAID uncertainty. Organizations describe being locked out of systems and unable to access funds. Let's take a look at how ABC covered the situation of Elon Musk and his Doge mobile, his Doge team, going in and bulldozing the fraud and abuse at USAID. Here's how ABC, owned by Disney, is covering that situation.
Millions of people around the world rely on life-saving aid from USAID. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the State Department can offer waivers for some of the most critical aid efforts to continue. But there are questions about who would be left at the agency to process those waivers. We checked in with NGOs abroad about how they've already been impacted.
I'm Christine Stechling. I'm a Deputy Executive Director at UNAIDS, the joint program within the United Nations responding to HIV and AIDS. The United States government provides about 70% of all funding for HIV and AIDS globally. And
now that does beg the question, folks. Why is the U.S. providing 90%? This is a global issue. Like, why is the U.S. the one that's providing 90%? That's a political question. We'll leave it to you to decide. But just suffice to say, something seems skewed there. But we'll keep looking briefly. Go ahead, Lou.
Can I ask a political question I will leave to people to decide?
You may.
If most of your funding is coming from the United States government, are you an NGO? A non-government organization?
That's a great question. Continuing.
So pausing any of that is a big shock to the system. Community clinics are closed because communities are not sure what the guidance is, and they're not sure what costs can be covered, and they're afraid that they will be asked to repay services that they have charged to U.S. government contracts. So these are people's lives that are really at risk here.
My name is Yuri Boyechko. I'm CEO and founder of Hope for Ukraine, and we've been working on the ground in Ukraine since 2016, providing humanitarian aid to people affected by war. Firewood is a lifeline right now for the people in Ukraine because there's millions of people in Ukraine that live in frontline areas.
We're going to skip ahead, not because we have any less interest or empathy for these individuals that are featured, but simply because we're trying to get to what ABC is covering. So let's move forward just a little bit.
It's because you don't like firewood. Come on, just be real.
Anti-firewood. I will say it's not the cleanest source of energy. Let's keep playing, though, real quick to get the ABC point of view, and then we'll discuss.
HIAS is the global Jewish humanitarian organization working in more than 20 countries around the world to help refugees find safety. The last few weeks have been total and complete chaos. We've had to stop programs, for example, with survivors of violence.
Hang on a second. There was something there.
Complete chaos. We've had to stop.
You all see what appears just briefly there in that. We've got the colors up there on the wall behind. It's just fascinating to me. It seems that even in a 2-second clip, you've got this issue that appears repeatedly. All right, so let's leave that there for the moment. I think that it's fair to say, so if we want to be as fair as possible, I think we can fairly say that ABC, in their coverage of that, they spent very little time talking about the motivations behind why USAID is being looked at again, right? There was no talk about the fraud, abuse, waste, etc. Everything was about the humanitarian issues. We're not here to diminish humanitarian need, and we're not here to wade in on a political discussion of how much of the U.S. taxpayer money should be spent on assisting people around the world. We will say that from a philosophical standpoint, and anybody who disagrees, feel free to weigh in. I don't think we'll have disagreement on this. In terms of wishing well-being upon every person on the planet, you betcha. Like, we think everybody has divine worth, and we want you to be well off, and it doesn't matter where you live. We want you to do well. So are we concerned about that? Sure. The methodology by which we assist, that probably needs some looking into. Now, the reason that we did the ABC thing, folks, is because ABC News, owned by Disney, of course, we've just covered with the NatGeo situation that Disney was receiving USAID money. There's something bigger that may be there that we want to look at. Folks, take a look at this. It is out of USAID. Well, excuse me, it's not. It's out of usaspending.gov. I'm going to show you something new. This is brand new investigation work that we're doing. If we go through the recipients of federal monies, and we were told we might be interested in this. There's a company called Buena Vista Non-Theatrical Incorporated. Now, I'm going to tell you, we don't know why they're receiving all this money.
2 more down, Buena Vista Contracting, Inc.
It's going to be a lot more than 2.
Oh, boy.
But I can tell you that Buena Vista Non-Theatrical Incorporated, as best as our investigation so far is pointing us, appears to be a company that may have been split off from the Buena Vista Theatrical Distribution. I forget the exact name of the company. Started in 1980 that handled Disney's VHS and movie secondary distribution, so home distribution. This seems to be a spinoff of that somehow. And we're not exactly sure why Buena Vista Non-Theatrical is getting so much money from the U.S. government. But let's just scroll through for a minute and just take a look at this. with us as we speculate, because again, we're at the beginning of the investigation. Buena Vista non-theatrical, $811 million. Buena Vista non-theatrical, $635 million. Buena Vista non-theatrical, $427 million. Buena Vista non-theatrical, $410. Buena Vista non-theatrical, $374. Buena Vista non-theatrical, $353, $325, $315, $307, $300. We're in the thousands, by the way. $283, $271, $269, $258, $256, $248. We can keep going. This goes on a long, long way. Suffice to say, Buena Vista non-theatrical appears to be a subsidiary of Disney and appears to be getting a lot of government money. Now, how do we know it's a subsidiary of Disney, or at least we believe that to the best of our ability? Let's go to MapQuest, because you can't find this thing on the web. It's basically not there. If you go to Buena Vista non-theatrical, you'll find that it has a location. And then if you go to click on its website, so if you click the website, it takes you to disney.go.com as a forbidden URL. Disney.go.com as a forbidden URL is what Buena Vista non-theatrical Incorporated sends you to. So here's the question as we look at the way that ABC News is covering all of this. It looks like the U.S. government has been spending a lot of money on entertainment companies and news organizations. We're beginning to look into this more and more. We're curious how much Disney got from the U.S. government, and if that's, and perhaps more broadly, if that is coloring the way that companies are covering the drastic changes at USAID. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to give you any complete or definitive or objective statement about this, but I also don't want to be left in the dust by somebody else who figures this out faster than we do. I need to get it out there so you know this is what we're looking into. We're fascinated by it. We don't have any conclusions yet, but it appears to be a very big deal. Panel, I'll hand it to you. What do you make of USAID, the amount of money that was going around Hollywood, New York, and other entertainment hubs, and how that might be affecting the coverage?
Well, first of all, for those who don't know why there's so many things called Buena Vista at Disney is that's the street the studio's on in Burbank, okay? And as Paulie certainly knows, the word means a beautiful or good view. Well, this is not a good look for Disney or for USAID. It just isn't. And the obvious question is, when you even said about the humanitarian things they do, swell. But in a world where people in the Carolinas who've had their lives wiped out by a storm are being denied FEMA help based on whose lawn signs they had in their front yard, and yet we're giving money for humanitarian overseas, it's all coming out of your paycheck every week, folks. Take a look at your forms and see how much they're taking, and that's where it's coming from. So,
Ron, Paulie, hop in as you wish and weigh in. I know this is a very spicy topic, and I don't want to put either one of you on the, pressure you, but we're looking into this. We believe there may be something to it.
I was just looking. I'm doing this on the fly as you're saying this, and I was looking into it. There's a lady named Amy.
Whoa.
I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah, sorry, Ron. I'm speaking out loudly because we're going to be very careful about not saying names attached to this until we have fully vetted it. So give us.
Got it.
You said Amy,
but I'll say there's a person who is in a position. There's a person who's in a position with this with Buena Vista.
Right. We can say Buena Vista.
It says that. Okay, Buena Vista, right? Non-theatrical sales at the Walt Disney Studios.
Right. I'm
just saying. I'm just connecting that it's Walt Disney Studios. That's all.
Right, and we wouldn't put this out on the channel unless we were really confident that this is Disney. Where we're working on this is there's no listed specificity as to what this money is, but there is a ton. It appears now that in addition to the NatGeo money that came from USAID that we've confirmed, there now appears to be millions of dollars going to non-theatrical entertainment releases from Disney. That's how it looks to us right now. And it could be legitimate. And folks, let me tell you this too, and then I'll give it to Paulie. We're exceedingly careful. Like, there's the possibility whenever you're looking at this sort of thing that it's legitimate. that the money is going to something like Shades of Green, which is the military vacation spot at Walt Disney World. That's a legitimate federal government spending to Disney. Totally cool, right? So we don't want to be sensational for the sake of clickbait. We're struggling though to figure this one out, how it is sensible, and maybe it is, but millions of dollars going to Disney for non-theatrical home distribution, we just don't, like, there's nothing on our radar that says where that's going. Paulie, what do you think? Are we making much to do about nothing, or is it too early in the game to comment? What do you think,
Paulie? This is pretty disgusting. This is infuriating. I'm trying to like hold back my bad words because I'm on your channel. Shut it all down, get the whole thing audited, clean it up. A law. I mean, every American citizen, tax-paying citizen, we're suffering because of this. And then think of the Americans that can't provide for themselves, disabled, veterans, women, children, homeless. I mean, I'm like getting upset just saying these words. Then think of all of our citizens that because of some catastrophe that when that's what the government is great at, supposedly is these emergencies and these disasters, and getting it right, being there for our citizens. They're not. And just like you said, from the Carolinas to California, they're still not.
Right.
And in California, these guys are still. I'm sorry.
No, Paulie, I'm just saying it disgusts me how they're treating the Angelinos in California. This is not right. It's not right.
This is not an opinion. Like, their leadership cannot. All they're doing is they keep punting as far as how do we take care of the rebuild here. And then our rebuild czar he'll do it for free because we found out he was getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, this has to end. And
what about the people that are on the ground? Are they being fed? Are they being taken care of? There's tons of homeless in California right now because of this situation. How are they being taken care of, Paulie? The Angelinos that have lost their house and they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, our city leader came in with a mandate that it was going to be solved in 90 days. That was a couple of years ago. They did put on a great inaugural party for her that brought in the then vice president. That cost us tens of thousands of dollars. It would have been great if she said, "You know what? I ain't gonna do no party. There's nothing to celebrate. Let's get to work." It's like, all right, I respect you. I did not vote for you, but I respect you if you did that. This is really a hard one for me, man, because with USAID, the world looks to us, and that's a good thing. And it's like we want to help. We have empathy. We have compassion. I mean, we have so much compassion that we treat people who come in here undocumented, illegally, with compassion, with humane, process,
right?
That other countries don't. That their own countries don't. So I get really upset. I'm all about compromise. I'm all about talking through issues, but this thing here, this is why you're seeing the Democrats, sorry, I mentioned a party, freaking the F out. And they're all going to be audited. They're all going to be caught. And they just need to all be kicked out.
So I want to go to
how's that?
No. Listen, I'm totally fair to talk about it.
And guys, you're speaking from you're hearing it from a lifelong Democrat.
And I think that speaks to the cultural shift, and it's because the left moved so far out of the mainstream that it left people who were classically liberal sitting there saying, "Well, who's going to represent me now? I guess the middle is going to go to the right."
But for now. Pro, the culture side of this, which is what we concentrate on, is as follows. If you completely control the media, if you completely control the people who are supposed to ask the tough questions, who ask you softballs, you get flabby at answering hard questions. And that's what we're seeing now, is all these people having their game given away, and their only response is more of the same, because they've lost the ability to deal with tough issues because they've never had any tough questions until now.
So, Lou, let me ask you a question. I'm going to give you the final word on this.
Uh-oh.
And by the way, folks, if you're wondering why Marvin isn't participating, it's because Marvin is actually working on some really, really big stories. And so he's there on the panel, but he's actually working on thatparkplace.com right now on some of this stuff. Lou, I'm curious. We've watched as Disney has officially now pulled back out of DEI. They've removed Reimagine Tomorrow. They've changed the web. I mean, we were covering as the website was changed in real time.
They've rearranged the deck chairs on the Titanic, yes.
Yes. Lou, is there a possibility, maybe even a likelihood, that perhaps the reason the change is happening is not because of virtue, and maybe in part it's because this was always financially motivated? In other words, the U.S. government under the Biden administration, and maybe longer before that, the deep state wanted Disney to do certain things, and that was maybe, although we don't know this, tied to getting these funds. And maybe now that the funds are going away, it's no fun to do that anymore. That's my speculation.
That's certainly a possibility. The problem is that the culture runs so deep in Disney and other places that it isn't just a matter of, oh, Bob retires and KK gets an award and we're all good again. There are thousands of people working within the organization who have this point of view, who promote this point of view, who are glorifying this point of view. And if the new clean sweep, if a Nelson Peltz or an Elon Musk or anybody came through, bought the company, said that's not happening anymore for real, and these people who wouldn't go with that were fired, you know what they'd claim? I was just following orders. You can't fire me. And they'd be right. They'd be right. Because you would have discriminatory lawsuits all over the place from these people, because they'd say, all we did was what we were told. All we did was follow the company line. I mean, look at these people talking about, oh, gee, it's so terrible in all these places in the humanitarian. Great. Why is there a humanitarian need in most of these terrible places in the world? Because of corruption, because of deceit, because the fat cats get all the money first. And if you go in there as USAID, even with the best intentions, and you have to work through a local agency, who runs that agency? The crooks. So automatically the money's never going to get to the people, no matter how much we give them, because it's going to be short-stopped by all of these people in between taking their cut. Anyway.
And what a horrible, horrible thing that the charity and kindness and goodness of Americans may have been malignantly used against us. Folks, to bring it back to entertainment, look at Buena Vista Non-Theatrical. Again, it could be that every single one of these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions.
Right, millions from the U.S. government. Perhaps it's all for a good cause, and we just don't know what it is. We would never want to falsely malign something that's good. That said, it's something to look at. And if you try to go to the Buena Vista website, you get a 403 forbidden on disney.go.com. Does not forebode well. All right, but we're not foreboding from talking about it, and we never are, folks. We never shy away. It is the beginning, not the end of our investigation into what is going on here. And folks, if you have any information that you have legally, ethically, and voluntarily acquired that you can provide along those same lines, we would love to find out what in the heck is going on with that. But again, only if it's legally and ethically acquired and can be legally and ethically transmitted to us. We never take stuff that is improper. Helping Hollywood produce a product that you want to consume, that's what we do each and every day, folks. And this time, it's time to, well, say goodbye. We know, but don't cry. No, for we will have more videos on the way. We love to bring those videos and that information. And by the way, if you'd like even more, consider going to the Patreon page. It's www.patreon.com/WDW Pro. It's where we put out stuff exclusively there that we simply can't put out in other places for whatever reason, be it because it's too spicy or because, well, perhaps we're working to corroborate it. But you can find out things early and first over there. Folks, we surely have had a great time spending time with you. Consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to those pesky algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.